Welcome in Wednesday edition, Blue Sky Live here with you this morning. Chase Parham, Neal, McCready, Clark Ford Studio. Ole Miss moving up to number 9 in the college football playoff rankings. We'll dive into that a little bit. Look at a bracket that will for sure change for next week because teams play, games remaining, all that kind of stuff. What Warden Manuel had to say last night, the Michigan AD, who's also the head of the college football playoff selection committee, and much more, whatever's going on today on the show. A show brought to you every day by Blue Sky locations across the state of Mississippi, up and down I-55, throughout North Mississippi, lunch specials. You know about the Sweet Daddy's locations at most places. You can get the ribs, the pulled pork. They can take care of dinner tonight for you, too. Call ahead. They'll wrap it up, have it ready to go. They have wet or dry ribs. A lot of options for you there with, again, Blue Sky and Sweet Daddy's. And coming to you again from the Clark Ford Studio.
We are, Clark Ford is in Amory, Mississippi, 662-257-1900 is the number. Call it. Ask for Corey Clark. Tell Corey what Ford product you're looking for. He'll send you a quote within 15 minutes in business hours. It's right to the bottom line. No hassle, no haggle. You get your quote, and the rest is up to you. You can shop that quote around. You can do what I've done, but I recommend that you do. Let's hop into a Clark Ford today, 662-257-1900. Guests have joined throughout the week. You'll start seeing some of those interviews tomorrow. They joined on the Campbell Clinic hotline. From fractures and sports injuries to complex spine and limb conditions, the pediatric orthopedic physicians at Campbell Clinic in Oxford are the only specialized pediatric orthopedic team in North Mississippi providing expert care for growing bodies. Visit CampbellClinicOxford.com to schedule an appointment or call 901-759-3111.
So hopping into it a little bit this morning, again, Ole Miss moving to number 9 from number 11, up 2 spots. Is that right?
Yep.
2 spots in the college football playoff. The way the seeds work and rankings and whatnot, that would make Ole Miss the 10 seed in the event as of this week. Not a ton of surprises as you look at where this thing is moving from a ranking standpoint. You got something?
No.
Okay.
No.
Looked like you
No.
thought you had a surprise there.
No, I didn't think it was surprising.
Oregon 1, Ohio State 2, Texas 3, Penn State 4, Indiana 5, Notre Dame 6, Alabama 7, Miami 8, Ole Miss 9, Georgia 10, Tennessee 11, Boise State 12, SMU, BYU, A&M, and on down the list. Ole Miss does stay in front of Georgia, and then in this pile with Alabama, Miami, whatever they end up doing with them as they move forward. That's an interesting spot because it almost kind of feels like they're going to be the 3 or out to some extent there. But I don't know. We'll see. It's the one biggest question among questions I have is just simply what they do with these conference championship losers. And after hearing Manuel talk about it a little bit yesterday in response to Kiffin's comments on Monday, I'm not convinced they're going to move them whatsoever. I think they might literally just stay in the exact same spot if they lose the game.
Referring to the
conference championship losers, yes. If you're already guaranteed in, I think there's a decent chance to avoid setting precedent that they remain exactly in the same location.
Yeah,
and those games can only help you.
Well, I think assuming an Ohio State win over Indiana, the Ohio State-Oregon winner will be the 1 and the loser will be the 5. I think that's clear. The SEC is a little more nebulous because Texas still has a game against Texas A&M, and Texas A&M could conceivably get to the final. And if you play a football game, you could win said football game, and if you won said football game, it would change things to some degree. But yeah, I mean, I think you're seeing them sort of lay it out. I mean, I do. It's going to be deference clearly to the Big Ten and to the SEC. They're having a problem with the SEC teams have 2 losses, and the Big Ten teams are going to have 1. They've got a Notre Dame problem. If Notre Dame wins, that there's no way around. Yeah, but for the most part, I mean, I was in the gym last night. I got a workout in quickly before I went to Carson's game, and I didn't hear the audio, which was a blessing because I didn't really want to. But I saw him pop it out, and I was like, yeah, it's about right. You know, I mean, still, like you said, there's still games to play.
3 weeks worth.
And people
will
likely lose. I mean, either Ohio State or Indiana will lose on Saturday. That's almost assured that one of them will lose a game. Either Texas or Texas A&M will lose a game. somewhere.
And someone's going to get upset because they always do.
I mean, likely. But even if there are no upsets, some of those teams will lose games because they play each other. So I don't even listen to the word salads. It's they some of the answers that I read in what you posted on Rebel Grove, it smacks of like when you got an essay question in college and you're like, God, I don't know. I'm just going to start writing.
Well, the answer is that there are a bunch of humans in a room and it's almost all freaking eye test or plan, and yet they can't say that out loud. So he just talks and talks.
Now, you'll hear
because one reason why Georgia's here is another reason why somebody else isn't over here. And it's
so you'll hear an interview tomorrow on, it'll probably be posted pretty early in the day because it's going to be a long show. But I did an hour with Michael Bratton yesterday. It'll be part of MPW Digital Extra presented by Rustic Revivals. Michael believes and is sourced that they're pretty much right now going straight down. He knows he has sources who have the formula. And he said that the formula is spitting it out and that they're just talking around this formula, but that right now they're going straight formula. And these are where the analytics put them.
Is it analytics or is it just win-loss? Because when you look at it, it's basically win-loss outside of the Indiana outlier that's a little weird because it's Indiana.
It's 5 things that kick in.
So why wouldn't you say those? Why wouldn't you just give those as the –
but
my point is, if you're the committee, why wouldn't you just say that?
Because they don't want to. Because they don't want to do that. They want to leave themselves room to manipulate the results. Why are you still counting votes in late November? Because you're trying to figure out a way to fix the election. I mean, some things are just obvious. You don't say exactly what the criteria is because you need to be able to adjust things. That's the only possible explanation. It's just football. I mean, the losers don't get executed. I mean, so you're not putting out the formula because you don't want people to know the formula, because if people know the formula, they can plug in the numbers themselves, which kills the purpose of the show. But it also makes it obvious when you manipulated it.
Because the one thing, I mean, there was a micro and a macro out of what happened yesterday. And if you're Ole Miss, the micro is that barring something overly insane, you're in the field with 2 wins. It would take chaos to knock you out at this point. I wouldn't want to play a 3-point game against State and be losing for most of it. But I think you're okay. And on the macro, and there's a threat on the board, and again, if this ends up being the final result, as far as how the situation plays out from a ranking standpoint, and this is the list in this order. Now, as Neal said, things get manipulated. Remember back in 2014, the first year of the college football playoff, when you were just picking the 4, TCU, why they were so pissed off playing Ole Miss in the Peach Bowl that year was because they dropped from 4 to 6 for no reason. They didn't even play a game.
Yeah.
And fell 2 spots because they just weren't going to be one of the teams out of the Big 12.
Well, they dropped because the committee didn't want them.
Yes.
And that's
period.
Why. Yes.
So you have that potential. However, if it goes as it does, because like I said, whatever the formula is, the current rankings go essentially by win-loss on this. All the SEC teams are all behind the Big Ten teams who have fewer losses, and Miami's thrown in there in a weird spot because they haven't played anybody, and Indiana's in a weird spot because they haven't played literally a soul at this point. If this is the case, guy on the board said it. Why the hell would the SEC move to 9 games? You're only harming yourself.
Yeah, I don't know.
At all. You do nothing but throw in how many ever losses math says you're going to have losses.
Yeah.
And 3 losses is not getting you either in or getting you ahead of a Big Ten team with 1 loss. It's just not.
I can't remember who said it on the board, but they're exactly right. And once again, you say, hey, fans, blank you. And I don't blame them because the fans just play along.
Well, what's the alternative? Stop caring about the sport. I mean, they're not there.
But you could say, I'm not going to those games. I'm not going to come to those games.
Well, they don't. They still play them.
They get big crowds at those games.
7 home games. You want to go? You want to see?
Then it is what it is. Yeah. I mean, but look, if that happens and a couple of SEC teams get, quote, screwed here, I mean, that's what I said to Michael as we talked yesterday. SEC did it to themselves. They agreed to this formula. They agreed, oh, yeah, let's let the group of 5 in. Sure, let's give Notre Dame a special exception. Didn't have to. Did. And all you are away from 2 SEC teams not making this is Notre Dame winning out, Texas A&M winning their next 2 games, Indiana not getting humiliated. That's it. You get 4 Big Ten, 4 SEC, an ACC, a Big 12, Notre Dame, and a group of 5.
Correct.
And so 2 of the 6 2-loss SEC teams will get left out.
Yes. Tennessee and whoever else is in that thing.
Yeah.
As of today.
Yeah.
Tennessee sitting at 11 currently in the
And if
thing.
Texas A&M wins out and they can't get punished, well, then it's Tennessee and Texas. So you're leaving out 2 massive brands that are going to scream bloody murder. And have a case. Because I think if both Tennessee and or Texas played Indiana's schedule, they wouldn't have 2 losses.
They would not.
So they'll have a case. Other SEC teams will go, ha ha, and I'll just go, man, you would be. If it were you, you'd be losing your minds. So that's where they are.
And the committee came out and said, or Ward Manuel yesterday, he basically came out and said, we're not punishing you for not playing anybody in non-league. You can't help it. I understand. So that doesn't even factor in.
That's words. That's such word salad. I mean, it really is. I mean, I get it. I get it. But come on.
Again, he's trying to please 100 people at once. So that is the easiest way to do it, is go, we're just throwing this in here.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day.
And so when people go, hey, let's do a Big Ten SEC thing. Now you go, well, why? Just play Furman 4 times. I mean, why play?
It ups your game control number, which probably is in the metrics. I think it actually is.
Why play anyone? I mean, schedule Oxford High School.
Yeah, because look, Georgia is the Georgia and Alabama are actually the best 2 things for this. And yes, I get Alabama has this loss to Vanderbilt. I understand it, but in the not the show, but actually in the media call last night, where Manuel it's where I pull the quotes from to go on the board. You can read it there for if you want verbatim answers, and I guess I can pull it up if I need the verbatim on any of it. But the most frustrated fan base last night was Tennessee, and I understand why, justifiably. Makes sense. They were left out in the ranking. The most frustrated media contingent last night was Georgia. Georgia's beat writers were beyond pissed at Georgia's ranking last night, all the way across the board. I've seen content from basically every organization over there. And they were peppering Manuel with I didn't throw it, it hit the thing. They were peppering Manuel with questions regarding Georgia's strength of schedule versus their ranking at that point. And there was really no answer. It was just, you have losses, you lost to them, and you're back there. And then it put Manuel in his worst spot of the day, because the next question, because Georgia was still very frustrated, was, then why are they so far behind Texas if they beat Texas?
It's fair.
It's a fair question. And Manuel then, because he won't just come out and give any metrics, uses a bunch of stuff that can be picked apart, because he goes, well, Texas is just really good in the passing game. It's like, they're really not when they play anybody with any pulse whatsoever. Or they do this, or they do this. And then what it ends up getting to is, which is my initial point, was what he essentially said was, hey, we just kind of watch the game and go by some eye test and see win-loss and throw them in there. It's basically what he said.
Right.
When you look at the quotes as they were playing out. And he just kind of threw his hands up, because Alabama has more top 25 wins than the rest of the top 5 combined, or the entire top 5 combined.
Yeah.
But yet you go, okay, I don't know.
And Alabama's behind Indiana and Notre Dame.
Yes.
And Miami.
Notre
right?
Dame. And the reasoning was, well, Alabama lost to Vanderbilt, but then Notre Dame lost to Northern Illinois.
Yeah. And Northern Illinois is like 8th in the MAC.
That's correct. It's win-loss. Simply 0-1-2. Outside of Indiana, because they're undefeated, but nobody really thinks they're a national title contender. Now they can prove it on Saturday. We'll see. They get to play the game. Ohio State's without their best offensive lineman. He tore an Achilles. He's out for the season. Their center transfer. That news did come yesterday.
And I mean, are we really to believe that these people who sit in this room, they watch all these games? They watch all of these games. They sit and watch all of these games. I mean, I find that difficult to believe, honestly. that they sit and watch all of these games week after week after week. They watch them all.
Of course not.
I mean, I don't understand.
It's the farce of the final weekend when they do sit in the room for like 20-something hours all together and they bring the pizza in and put the pictures up. And it's like, okay, but so that one weekend supersedes everything else?
Right.
That matters more than everything else. That's what we're doing?
That's a fair question. Is that the deal? I mean, shouldn't you, if you're going to do the eye test, shouldn't you start in late August and sit together every Saturday and watch all the games? I mean, I don't want that job. Jesus, no. But I mean, shouldn't that be what you do? And then how would you do that when there's 60 teams competing at that point?
Do they get? I don't know. I don't know this answer. Do they get almost like a cut up version of all the games where you could go through them in like 30 minutes?
I don't know. And then are they football experts?
I know. I'm just curious.
Yeah, who are these people? I mean, because you could give me a cut up of every team and go, hey, rank them. And I'd be like, I don't know.
And yet, it's the
and that's before you factor in agendas and stuff like that. I mean, even me, I mean, I don't care. I'd be able to look at it and go, I don't know, man. I don't know. I mean, I can't tell you who's significantly better than who. And you can do the head-to-head thing and wrap yourself in a pretzel. Just in the SEC alone. And when you don't play half of the league, I mean, there's not, you run into these deals where there's not a lot of comparisons.
It's the entire part of this that makes me laugh because you listen to it last night and he goes, well, you know, we dropped them because they really struggled and they barely beat so-and-so. And it's like, well, we moved them up because they were really, really impressive. Yet their guidelines literally say margin of victory should not be factored in whatsoever.
That's what I'm saying. It's a word.
Literally in the thing says it shouldn't be factored in. But your humans watching go, well, they won by 30, so that was really impressive. We should bump them.
I mean, I guess.
And yet here you get.
I don't know. I mean, why not? I mean, people would watch it.
Again,
put them on ESPNU and all day long and let people hear their debates. Let people hear the debates.
I would get numbers.
I mean, there'd be people who would watch that. Put it on. If you want to be transparent, you can be transparent. But when you're not transparent, that's usually intentional. And if you're not transparent, it's usually because there's something that you need to hide. Reality.
I mean, that is the thing here. A couple things mentioned. Wicked Brew, thanks for the super chat. Says bring back the BCS computers. TP says Wicked Brew. There's Twitter account that posts the BCS rankings each week. Pretty identical, typically. I mean, Barrett Salee is doing a bit because he keeps saying only 2 teams and you should just pick the top 2 and blah, 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 blah. However, I would have zero issue with a 12-team playoff where the BCS rankings decide the 12 teams that are in it. None. Come up with your formula and spit out the 12 and let's play ball. I got no problems.
Sure.
Take it out of humans' hands.
That's what I'm saying.
Game control metrics, whatever you want to do.
Yeah.
Your call. Figure out the formula.
That's what I said.
Throw those 12s in there and let's go.
I've been saying this for weeks.
It's cool. But you couldn't do TV and you couldn't do this.
Or you wouldn't be able to manipulate it.
And people would discover it and then just simply go, here's the team.
But you wouldn't be able to manipulate it. And so the question is if you're a coach right now, or you're an AD, do you know the formula? Do you sort of have an idea of what's to come? I don't know.
I mean, Cam has a good point. They are literally just pretending Notre Dame has not lost. Basically.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have a home game losing Northern Illinois.
Yeah. I mean, as of now, it certainly appears so.
Which it's an interesting metric from the standpoint of depending on weather across the thing, every home game in that first round is going to be in cold weather.
And we'll see we won't get all the way out, but I'm curious to see what the advanced forecasts are for some of these places.
Yeah, I mean, just here, let me pull it up. Let's just get so bracket as of today off these numbers. 1 second. Got it right here. Ray Lewis is the betting favorite for the FAU job. Did not see that.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Charlie Weiss getting a lot of early play on that.
I did see that. So as far out as you can go in South Bend, Indiana, is December the 4th.
Okay.
High of 37.
There you go.
Low of 28.
Yeah. Well, Pennsylvania. I mean, we know Happy Valley is going to be cold. We know Columbus has a good chance to be cold. I mean, so yeah, that's my point. They would all be played in cold weather environments.
Of course, it could be cold in Mississippi on December 20th too.
It could. I'm beginning to wonder. It was 75 yesterday on November the 19th.
Bloomington on the 4th is high of 42, low of 30.
Okay. For the sake of the conversation, what is Oxford?
Let's see. High of 56, low of 40.
So 15 degrees-ish. Okay.
I mean, I don't have a problem with all the games being in the north if they just explain to me the metric. That's all. Show me the analytic.
But there isn't a metric. They have fewer losses.
That's what I'm saying.
That is the metric.
That's my whole point.
Which is the whole point back to the beginning, which is the SEC might as well play 6 conference games because if you have fewer losses, you're going to host the games.
Well, if
this is setting up an annual deal where the SEC goes on the road every damn year. It just is.
So I get it. I get why. I mean, I get why everybody's worked up. I'm wired differently. I look at it and go, okay, well, I mean, this is on the SEC. They should have demanded to see the formula. They agreed to this. I mean, they did. I'm assuming there was no gun to anyone's head. They agreed to this. And so here we are. Where if just a couple of things happen, a couple of SEC teams that with 10-2 records are going to get left out. Destin will be fun. The SEC championship game will be fun. Those meetings behind the scenes, those will be a little tense.
Yeah. All right, let's look at the bracket and get a couple other points on that in a second. Before we do that, I will tell you about the Citizens Bank. They're not just an account number, a valued member of the community. Now, if you find yourself in the market for a mortgage, another reason to give them a try. Whit Wilson, who many of you know in the mortgage space, now at the Citizens Bank, ready to help you with your real estate goals. Stop by and visit 902 Sisk Avenue, Suite E. Discuss your options with Whit or one of the experienced bankers who values your financial journey. While you're in there, ask about the School Spirit debit cards. They donate an amount per every transaction to the local school of your choice, whether it's Oxford, Lafayette, or Regents. That's the Citizens Bank, PHILA.com.
Remind me to answer that question there because I have an answer and then a point. But I understand it. You've had Wendy's Nugs dipped in sauce. Have you had them covered in sauce? Wendy's new saucy nugs take the crispy and spicy nugs you love and turn them up to 11. Choose between flavors like buffalo, honey barbecue, garlic parm. Or if you're a real heat seeker, try spicy ghost pepper only on Wendy's signature spicy nugs. I dare you. That's 7 delicious ways to try the nugs you already love. Pick a flavor, grab some extra napkins, and prepare to nug like you've never nugged before. For a whole new way to nug, it's got to be Wendy's at participating U.S. Wendy's. We'll have a hand-raised, guys, of some sort tomorrow afternoon. I'll have to cut it a little short because I've got Ole Miss basketball to cover tomorrow night. It's brought to you by Comer Heating and Air, Southern Air Conditioning and Heating, different names, same great people, products, and services. If you live in Oxford, Batesville, Tupelo, or the surrounding area, call Comer 662-801-1777. If you live in Hernando, South Haven, Memphis, or the surrounding area, call Southern 662-429-4429. I'll have a post-game column to you on Saturday afternoon after Ole Miss and Florida. That will be brought to you by our friends at Window Hero. From window cleaning to pressure washing, gutter cleaning, gutter guards, and everything in between, Window Hero has the experience, equipment, and expertise to make your property look and feel brand new. If you're in North Mississippi, let Window Hero make your home or business's exterior look amazing. They're fully insured, fully bonded. They have specialized equipment, exclusive cleaning solutions, a satisfaction guarantee. They can clean up to 4 stories on buildings. So give Roby and Susan Allen a call at 662-510-7077 to get an estimate or learn more at windowhero.com. I referenced MPW Digital Extra that will air at some point tomorrow morning. It's brought to you by Rustic Revivals. Has let's see, Michael Bratton will be on. Edgar Thompson of the Orlando Sentinel will be on. Ben Mintz, others, at least 4 guests on the show. So it should be a really good one. Brought to you by Rustic Revivals. They're based out of Flowood, Mississippi. Rustic Revivals builds tables and other furniture by hand with locally sourced lumber. The husband and wife team of Josh and Ashley Pierce specialize in custom-ordered tables, beds, dressers, coffee tables, bookshelves, decorative cabinets, chairs, and more. They deliver within 250 miles of Flowood. Podcast listeners get 20% off their purchase by using the code REBELS20. The QR code will be on the YouTube stream tomorrow, but you can go ahead and go to rusticrevivalsms.com, facebook.com/rusticrevivalsms, or check them out on Instagram at Rustic Revivals. You can also call them directly, 228-217-1243.
Podcast also brought to you by G&M Pharmacy, 662-236-2222. They deliver locally in the Oxford area and offer MedSync. Free prescriptions the same day each month and take care of you. Also easy to transfer those medications. You make one phone call, they take care of the rest. So whether you're in Oxford with G&M or Holly Springs with Tyson Drugs, that's 662-236-2222. What's your question?
So FBS something TR3. I'm sorry, I can't read this very well. He says, Neal, if assuming he means South Carolina,
okay,
played Indiana, Miami, or Notre Dame tomorrow on a neutral field, who would you take to win? I would take South Carolina to win all 3 games. There's your answer. But here's my question: is that a mental exercise that the committee does? I don't know. Maybe.
It's the problem. Like it's we're going in circles, and I'm going to get to the bracket and some other stuff in a second. But that is the issue, is that there are multiple ways to look at this. Because look, I thought the Georgia freak out from everybody was really odd last night. It made no sense. However, if we're going by resumes, they have the best resume in the country.
Yes.
Because they have the most best wins.
Yes.
They beat Clemson. They have stuff.
And their 2 losses were to top
to good
teams on the road. In the SEC, where road teams lose.
And you can't turn around and give Texas the Vandy as a quality win and then bury Alabama for it being a bad loss. It can't be both. It has to be one or the other.
Texas's second best win is Arkansas.
I know. Point being to this.
And if you're doing the eye test, Arkansas, I didn't see the game, but I'm told Arkansas was in the game in the 4th quarter.
They were down 3 points in the 3rd, and then, it was close.
So they were in the game.
Maybe it's 13-7, whatever.
I mean, and Arkansas is not particularly good. Look at their schedule. Look at who they've played. LSU curb stomped them. Ole Miss absolutely ran them off the field. I mean, Arkansas's wins are over Mississippi State. Who they beat in the league? Mississippi State, Auburn, and
I don't know. I don't remember.
Somebody.
Yeah.
Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
They beat Tennessee.
My point in saying all that is that, look, every fan base that doesn't get in is going to be pissed off and say, well, this is the reason we should have. Best resume and head-to-head are 2 separate metrics that have to be combined into how the rankings go. It's not all of one or all of the other. So just because you beat one team doesn't mean you're guaranteed to be ahead of them no matter what.
Right.
And versus with resumes, Alabama and Georgia have really good cases on having way up there because they go, God, nobody else even played anybody. So how is 4-2 worse than 0-0?
I mean, Georgia beat Clemson. Alabama went to Wisconsin and won in blowout fashion.
Because that's the point. It is literally a couple of these Big Ten teams have played 0 of these games. So Georgia goes, well, we're 4-2 in these, and you're 0-0, and yet you're ranked higher, having played no one. Why?
Yeah.
It's valid. It's a valid argument.
Sure. I mean, people will say, is there a Big Ten bias in the room? I don't know. I mean, look, biases exist.
Sure.
I mean, I do think there's kind of an anti-SEC bias. I watched a game in person last night where there was clearly a bias. Biases happen.
The committee is Chris Alt, the former AD at Nevada, Chet Gladchuk, the AD at the Naval Academy, Jim Grove, former head coach at Ohio, Wake Forest, and Baylor.
Yep.
Ward Manuel, the chair, is the AD at the University of Michigan. Randall McDaniel, college and Pro Football Hall of Fame member and former All-American offensive lineman at Arizona State. Gary Pinkel, former head coach at Toledo and Missouri.
So it's a bunch of damn Yankees is what you're saying.
So far. Mac Rhodes, athletic director at Baylor. How Baylor gets people on the committees is amazing. Mike Riley, former college head coach at Oregon State and Nebraska, as well as NFL, CFL, blah, 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 blah. David Saylor, AD at Miami of Ohio.
Mike Riley once almost got the Alabama job.
Did he really?
Mm-hmm.
That would have been an alternate world. Who beat him out? Was that
I
like a
can't remember.
Franchione or a
Something like that.
Mike Price situation?
I don't remember. It all runs together. I just remember
You might not have had to go to Aridy's Angels had Mike Riley gotten hired.
Possible. Never know.
Ruined that entire experience for you.
Yeah.
Took it away from you, really. Will Shields, College and Pro Football Hall of Fame member, All-American lineman at Nebraska. Kelly Whiteside, professor in sports media and journalism at Montclair State, longtime sports writer, USA Today. Carla Williams, AD at Virginia, and Hunter Yurachek, AD at Arkansas. That is the committee. Okay, just pointing that out. And I guess again, I'm going to get to the bracket in a second, but while we wonder if teams can jump or there's punishment that comes into Ole Miss's schedule, from a straight team moves down a little when they lose standpoint, which makes sense. I mean, isn't Ole Miss's path to hosting potentially as simple as Ohio State beating Indiana and Notre Dame losing to USC? Because two teams fall out and you move up 2 spots?
I mean, yeah, sure, I guess.
In theory?
Yeah.
Now, you need A&M to not, like, jump you or their stuff, but in theory, you just need two teams to lose, right?
If A&M beats Texas and they're 10-2 and they play in the SEC championship game, and your theory is right, then A&M's going to be locked into, like, the 6th spot if they lose.
Or locked into whatever spot they would be prior to the win.
Sure.
Now, do you jump from 15 to 6 because you beat Texas?
I mean, they got Texas pretty high. Texas is 3rd.
Yeah.
So you'd have a win over
Where did Ole Miss
3.
jump after beating Georgia? 16 to 11.
Let me jump 5 spots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you'd need 9 in that argument, but.
Yeah. I mean, maybe they jump 15 to 10. I don't know.
Yeah. Either way.
I mean, what I'm fascinated to see is if Ohio State beats Indiana by the line, 13 points.
How far do they fall?
My guess is not far.
And there's just no argument for that.
2 spots? No, there's not. But I mean, well, again, at the risk of being incredibly repetitive, we don't know what the formula is.
Because the Indianapolis Star put out a story basically saying, calm down, you're probably going to be in even if you lose. And they had a bunch of other teams that didn't fall far in similar situations. The problem that they had, if this matters, is the ridiculous outlier of Indiana's strength of schedule was like 106, and everybody else was like in the top 40. And it's like, okay, but that's literally not the same.
Ole Miss's is like 76th. It's not great.
I thought it was 29, 31, 35.
Some number I was told was like 70-something.
Okay, I don't know. I thought I saw 20s or 30s somewhere, but I don't know, honestly.
And I'll say it. I mean, it's not popular to say, but if the committee at the end of the day goes, hey, that loss to Kentucky you should pay for that in the form of a road game, I don't think that's unfair. Among SEC teams, it's the worst loss.
But it's back to the other argument. It's worse than losing to Northern Illinois.
No, I'm
so
with
Notre
you.
Dame's at home.
I know.
Selective.
I'm
You're
not
just picking
fighting.
and choosing, throwing and
I
doing
guess they would say, well, Notre Dame only lost once. You lost twice.
Okay. I mean,
this is a dispassionate argument. I like when you tell me that about the Georgia people getting all upset. I lose faith in our field, assuming I had some left. I'm not sure I had any left.
Yeah, it was weird last night. I mean, seriously, I was like, that was interesting.
It's almost like someone sent them a text and said, you better ask these questions.
On just straight strength of schedule, Ole Miss is 29.
Okay. What's Notre Dame?
82. Again, I'm on a rankings page. It just has SOS. I'm assuming that is strength of schedule.
That would be my assumption.
Oregon 43, Georgia 1, Ohio State 28, Penn State 35, Texas 38, Indiana 106, Alabama 16, BYU 53, Miami 54, Tennessee 18. A&M 24, Ole Miss 29, Notre Dame 82, Boise 77, South Carolina 8, Clemson 46.
Yeah, I mean, South Carolina played a real schedule. And they did. I mean, Georgia's played a real schedule. Georgia's going to play.
They're going to have the number 1 schedule, and they're basically the last team in.
I mean, Georgia played Clemson. They're going to play Georgia Tech. They played at Texas, at Alabama, and at Ole Miss. If they go through that at 10-2, if they get left out, I mean, stop.
And they're not getting left out. They just have no real path to a host.
Yeah.
Which was the anger last night for whatever.
Did they think they were hosting? That's the problem I've got. I kept looking at this over the last. I did. I have. We're on record. I mean, you can probably find the show where I said I think the SEC teams are traveling. And I still do.
Strength of record, Ole Miss is 12. Georgia is 2 strength of record.
Yeah, I mean, look, if we're debating resumes, there's no question who has the best resume. It's not even close. It's Georgia.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't know. I think everybody's played nice with Notre Dame because they just want them, frankly. Yeah, that's one spot. Okay, fine.
Well, that was a mistake. Because I would have been in the room going, you guys need to join a league.
Pick one and then
pick a league and go play a league schedule. And if you qualify, awesome. And if you don't, screw it.
Because frankly, they're playing half of an ACC schedule. Okay, then make sure you take their bid then.
And I would have told the group of 5, sue away. Good luck.
Now, right here, though, the problem is that Boise actually has they're ranked higher than the Big 12 champion. The Big 12 is the one that would be left out in that scenario.
And I would have been fine with that too.
Because that's where I was going. Boise is the 4th seed as of today. So we have, I mean, to your point, and I get it's an isolated case and all that, but we're in year 1. It's the only data we have. You've allowed a team to play a Mountain West schedule, 0 top 25 wins, and be the 4th seed with a bye.
Yeah.
Now they have a great loss, but
hand-raised guy in the room,
loss
right?
is still a loss.
Hand-raised guy in the room. Here, I'm gonna do the thought exercise because it's one that I did with Brad.
What are we doing?
Hold on, I'll show you.
Oregon the 1 seed, Miami the 3, Texas the 2. Those would be the byes. This has Ole Miss the 10 heading to Bloomington. The winner playing Texas, Georgia, Penn State in Happy Valley. The winner playing Miami, Alabama, Notre Dame in South Bend, playing Oregon, and BYU, Ohio State playing Boise State. So Ohio State's path as the 5 would be BYU and Boise State to get to the semifinals.
Okay, here we go. Pick an SEC team that's not in the mix. Not one of the bottom 2 or 3, but like one of the middle. Pick.
Florida with DJ Lagway at quarterback.
All right. At Georgia Southern.
They would win.
At Oregon.
They would lose.
Portland State at home.
I think they would beat them.
Okay, so 2-1. Washington State at home.
They would beat Washington State.
Utah State at home.
They would beat the Aggies.
At Hawaii.
They suck.
At UNLV.
Yes, I mean, I assume.
Yeah, Boise beat them by 5.
Okay.
San Diego State at home.
They would win.
Nevada at home.
They would beat the Wolfpack.
At San Jose State.
Yep.
At Wyoming.
I assume.
Oregon State at home.
Yeah.
South
11-1.
South Carolina's 11-1. Shit, Arkansas might go 11-1.
I mean,
what would Auburn do with that schedule?
The only potential trouble spots on that schedule are UNLV, and there was one more that I kind of paused for a second, and that was it.
That's about it. I mean, Washington State's a good team. But you get that at home. If Auburn played Washington
State. Yeah, and if you reverse it, we've been saying this, Jonty would have 32 carries for 57 yards against one of these teams.
And my point is, if you let Tennessee play that schedule, holy hell. I mean, they're easy 11-1. I mean, with control points just
all over the map.
Just orange control points everywhere. I mean, what would Alabama do to that schedule? What would Ole Miss do to that schedule? What would Georgia do to that schedule?
Well, you would sleepwalk. You wouldn't even.
You would win. It would look like Ole Miss's non-con. I would be completely despondent by the end of October, having to write more 50-0 stories. Where I'm writing stuff going, nobody's reading this. Nobody. Literally nobody's reading this.
If these first-round games were actual games and you could bet on them, Ohio State would be a 21-point favorite against BYU in the opener.
Flawed.
It's
flawed.
At home against BYU.
So you get a playoff game and the line's 21?
You would, yes.
Wait, everybody goes, this is pro sports.
Because they are the
When
Big
was
12
the last
champion.
time an NFL playoff game had a 21-point line?
The other argument, though, is that every division does get a team in, and you've had 7 and 9 hosts playing 11 and 5 wild cards.
But were they 21-point dogs?
Well, I mean, no, but that's not the one argument I would actually make.
Okay.
Because,
but you understand my point. That line might be
the 12 and 4 Saints going to 7 and 9 Seattle is like, okay.
But the line on that game was probably like 4.5, 5.
I mean, okay, but that's not, of all the arguments, that's not the one I would choose.
I despise the group of 5 thing. I hate it, and I've hated it consistently with a passion. It is so stupid.
Notre Dame and Alabama and South Bend would be a pick'em.
Okay, I know who I'm picking.
Put some cash on that one.
Roll Tide. You can give me Alabama and a pick?
Yeah.
Yes, sign me up.
Penn State, Georgia, and Happy Valley would be a pick.
Again.
Vegas says a pick'em in Happy Valley.
Pissed off Kirby Smart with that team? Yeah, hunker down.
And Ole Miss and Bloomington would be a 5.5-point favorite.
And I'd lay those points in a heartbeat. So, hey, the good news is everybody might be able to get rich off this.
Take the 3 SEC schools and then figure out whether you think the Buckeyes are going to cover 21.
And they'll cover it if they care.
Yeah, they don't have to cover those. It's a playoff game, so do you just sort of gear down?
Yeah, well, because that's a game on the 20th probably, and you're going to play again in 10 or 11 days. Now you probably once you've got it under control, you probably go into control mode. There's no incentive if you're Ohio State to go, hey, let's go cover the line, unless you got to bet on it yourself, which is certainly possible.
Look, change happens when somebody gets frustrated. I mean, this thing easily in 2 years could move to where this system is entirely blown up into a different place, and we're not even doing this.
Well, I can paint
this could be a 2 or 3 year deal.
I can paint a scenario where this is a one-time deal.
But if I'm the SEC, I want this data before I know whether I'm going to 9 games.
Sure. Well, I need a 16-team playoff before I'm going to 9 games. I need a 16-team playoff. And I need
because Ole Miss, in a world where you did it, Ole Miss would play either probably Texas or Alabama, and you'd have one extra loss for somebody, and that'd be it. It'd be over right now.
Yeah,
because you lost in September on the road in Oxford or Austin or Tuscaloosa.
Well, if I'm South Carolina right now, I'd look at that and go, hell no. I mean, we're 9-3 at the end of this in all likelihood, and the losses that killed them at Alabama in a game that went to overtime, right?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Okay, they lost in overtime in Tuscaloosa.
A 2-point play that Sellers threw it in the stands on that rollout to the right.
I mean, Ole Miss curb stomped them. And then who was the other game? Who else did they lose to? It was close.
LSU
on
and Sellers was hurt. Remember, he got hurt.
Sellers got hurt.
They got beat 38-35.
And that was a bad call. It was probably the right call, but it was a picky call.
Yeah, it's 38-35, I believe.
I watched a game last night that was decided by a very picky, completely unnecessary call that impacted nothing. But there was a bias. So, there's an anti-Oxford bias that's a real thing, and you see it on the field. It's just obvious.
Was it?
Yeah, we have a bad reputation in the rest of the state. It shows.
Road game, I assume.
No, it was at home.
Oh, it was at home.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's not what I'm anticipating. Yeah, I've seen it here again. Ray Lewis has emerged as a serious candidate at FAU. Where's he been? Has he coached anybody? Is this Dion part 2?
I don't know.
What are we doing?
I'm unaware of Ray Lewis's whereabouts. I listened to a podcast a couple of years ago about his deal in Atlanta.
Oh, yeah.
That was the last I really heard of Ray Lewis.
That's right.
Look at the wind today.
Whoa.
There'll be so many leaves in the pool.
That came out of nowhere.
The wind?
Yeah, whoa, that was fierce.
Alan says, what more could Boise have done?
It's not their fault.
They could have played in a different league.
Yeah, but it's not their fault.
I get it.
They can't get another league. It's not their fault.
I don't think they belong.
This is like blaming Vanderbilt for the scholarship thing in baseball. It's not their fault.
No.
They're just using the system.
But they do have to play an SEC schedule.
I mean, okay, but still, point stands.
I know. Just saying.
Blaming Rice back in the day when they did it and they played in Conference USA.
Sure.
I mean, it's not their problem.
But in baseball, 64 teams.
I'll actually give Boise a ton of credit. They didn't have to play Oregon. They did it.
True.
They could have gone 12-0 and still probably been the team.
Yeah.
Without playing them.
Yeah.
Now, I do wonder a little bit if I think Notre Dame's about to beat the hell out of them. But if Army upset Notre Dame, would Army jump Boise State potentially? Would that be enough to shoot them up over Boise?
Probably. But you'd love to know the formula, right?
Yeah.
So if this was the bracket, how would you predict the bracket? If this were the bracket, how would you see it playing out? Let's have a little fun. It's supposed to be fun. Let's have a little fun. Ohio State beats Boise, and they advance.
Ohio State beats BYU, beats Boise.
Okay.
Alabama beats Notre Dame.
Yep.
Oregon beats Alabama.
Oh, let's do round by round.
Okay.
My brain doesn't.
All right. Okay.
I'm a ULM grad.
Right.
We can't do it.
BYU, Ohio State over BYU.
Okay.
Alabama over Notre Dame. Georgia over Penn State. Ole Miss over Indiana.
Yes.
4-4? Okay.
Yeah, I agree.
All right. Ohio State over Boise State.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Ohio State would get to the semis as a non-conference champion with two games where they're at least a 2-touchdown favorite in both of them.
Yeah, for sure.
I have Oregon beating Alabama, I think, in a quarter.
I think you're right. That'd be a hell of a good game.
Yeah. I think I have Oregon beating Alabama right there.
Yeah.
I have Georgia beating Miami.
Yes. Probably badly.
And I have Ole Miss beating Texas.
Agreed. So we're going to get an Ole Miss Georgia rematch here?
In the Cotton Bowl.
Son. So we get Oregon, Ohio State.
We would get Oregon, Ohio State,
Part
Ole Miss,
3.
Georgia in semis in the orange and the cotton.
So Oregon in this scenario would have to beat Ohio State 3 times. Oh, boy. Oh, no. I don't know about that. That's a tall order.
That's a tough task.
That's why, I mean, like someone said yesterday, we'll see them again. I was like, well, I hope we see them again because I don't want to see Madison Central again. We've done that twice, and I don't want to have to do it a third time. I mean, so see, here's full circle. After all of that, nobody would remember all the chaos. They would just get this phenomenal semifinal round.
And your quarters have big names outside. I mean, think about the quarters from a straight name recognition standpoint. Ole Miss, Texas,
Huge
Miami,
game.
Georgia,
Huge game.
Oregon, Alabama,
Maybe
and then the crap with Boise State.
Yeah. No, you have one dud.
You have a dud because the Big 12 can't just get its stuff together to have one team that gives you some type of pulse.
But you have a dud because you insisted on this participation shit.
Well, yeah, because if you completely took that out and just strictly did let's for the hell of it.
Took the best 12
for the hell of it.
Yeah, take the top 12.
Here's the thought exercise.
Okay.
A bracket where there are no buys.
Yeah.
There's no automatics.
1, 2, 3, 4 get bids, and then we seed the rest.
Okay. Indiana against Boise State in the first round.
Oh, that's a shit game. I mean, excuse me, bad game.
It is. But you get it out of the way early we move on.
Play that on Friday night.
I'm just going to let it go chalk for now in that, and we'll move on.
Okay.
Notre Dame hosting Tennessee in a game.
Awesome.
We're in now. We're in.
Of course.
Alabama hosting Georgia.
I mean,
in a playoff game, we're in.
Boy. Be a lot of Kirby would be wound tight.
Oh, he might have to.
He might have to go see your people in Jackson.
Yeah, he'd need a little bit of a minute there.
Yeah.
And then Miami hosting Ole Miss, first round game.
I mean, be a fun game.
And then in a quick little move here, we'll just do it this way. Indiana, Penn State in a quarter.
Okay.
In Happy Valley.
Okay.
Where we would get there. You would get Oregon against Ole Miss in a quarter.
Okay.
Something like that.
Yep.
You'd get Ohio State, Alabama, or Georgia. Either way.
I'd get
I don't
ratings.
care which one.
Sure.
And you would get Texas against Notre Dame.
I think the networks would sign up for
Tennessee.
that.
Or Texas, Tennessee.
Yeah.
You'd be in.
Ooh, the battle of the orange tees in a playoff game.
The winner gets to claim the power tee.
I'd watch.
You should get a trophy. We all have trophies. You should have a trophy, a big T.
So it'd be 5 SEC teams or 6 SEC teams if you went top 12?
Texas, Alabama, Ole Miss, Georgia, Tennessee.
5.
A&M's at 15 is the 6th.
And I would argue the SEC deserves 5.
It would be 5. SMU and BYU are just kind of sitting here, by the way, at 13 and 14.
They're going to manipulate that number.
I think it's being, well, My point is, I think that there's some cuteness in this bracket. If one of these Big 12 teams wins out, whether it be Colorado or BYU, I think they're jumping Boise.
I agree.
I think we're going to have BYU or Colorado as the 4 if one of those wins the league.
Well, if I'm the TV people and Colorado can win the league, I want them.
Yeah,
as the
you're
4.
better off doing that.
Well, because I'm again.
Yeah, the goal here is the goal here.
Well, the goal here is TV.
Mm-hmm.
People will watch Colorado. That's been proven.
And BYU's 9-1, and they got to win over SMU, who's ranked 13th.
Yeah.
They didn't go head-to-head mattering right there, by the way. They are right next to each other in the rankings, and SMU is ahead of BYU, even though they lost the game.
Right.
Just observation, people. That's all we're doing. Observations.
Even you're irritated at this.
I don't like it. I read through all those quotes this morning, and it was making me want to put a fork in my eye because it made no sense.
Don't do that because that would make running Sunday very hard.
Yeah, and I told you I'm a little worried I'm getting sick. I'm just trying to ignore it and forget it and act like I'm fine. Okay. Sorry. Need a break. We'll come back. We'll talk about something else in a second. Northeast Spark, the fastest, most reliable fiber internet option available. Whether you're streaming the Rebels or connecting with family and friends, they offer both residential and business packages with speeds up to 2 gigabits. Their 100 megabytes is now $300 for the exact same price. To learn more, register for service. AnySpark.com. AnySpark. Get connected. Stay local.
Are you retiring soon? How long should you wait to take Social Security? What accounts should you pull from first? Are you already retired? Should you consider Roth conversions? These are some of the questions that can only be answered with a personalized retirement income plan. Andrew Sego Wealth Management specializes in helping folks just like you come up with their retirement game plan. Whether you meet at his office in Collierville or prefer Zoom from anywhere, schedule a free discovery meeting. See what they can do for you. It's rebelsretire.com. Brought to you by Grenada Home Center. They've got paints by Benjamin Moore, Pittsburgh Paints, Farrell Calhoun, flooring of any and all types, stone countertops, whether you're looking for granite, quartz, or anything else, window treatments from plantation shutters to whatever else suits your fancy. It's all at Grenada Home Center, 1301 Sunset Drive, Suite H in Grenada. Call them at 662-226-3127. Arnett's Fine Jewelry is a fourth-generation jeweler located in the old Lamons Jewelry Building on North Lamar Avenue in Oxford. They offer expert jewelry repair, diamond engagement rings, wedding bands, stackable diamonds, genuine stone bands, pearls, color stones, diamond jewelry, and more. It's great for gifts. Speaking of gifts, Christmas right around the corner. You might want to stop by Arnett's. They want to be your jeweler. The College Corner is a great place to stop if you are looking for a gift for the Rebel fan in your life. If you're getting ready for the Egg Bowl, stop by Oxford Commons location right off of Sisk Avenue. More than 4,000 square feet of the best Rebel gear. Plenty of parking available. Their staff will have you in and out and ready for the Grove and Vaught Hemingway in no time. Also 2 locations in Jackson, and you can visit them online at collegecornerstore.com. We're also brought to you by Argent Wealth. Call Argent Wealth's 401k advisory services team today. They can conduct a complimentary, no obligation benchmarking and analysis of your current 401k plan. I mentioned that you heard about Argent Wealth on BlueSky Live. You get 10% off your first year's fees. And brought to you by our friends at our friend John Edwards at Regency Travel Incorporated in Memphis. If you're thinking about planning a trip that you want to create a lifetime of unique memories, get in touch with John, give him some parameters, give him a budget, let him give you some options, and know this, you don't have to live in or near Memphis to take advantage of his services. 901-494-3387, or send him an email, jedwards@regencytravel.net.
You mentioned it a little while ago, the men's clinic in Madison and Brandon. If you're dealing with low energy levels, no motivation, decrease in muscularity, plenty of other things that could be going on with you as you age as well, they can help you out, help you manage the aging process. That's themanthing.com. They work on testosterone optimization, body composition analysis, medical grade supplements, lab panels, Botox prescriptions for a lot of different options, including hair loss and anti-inflammatory creams and plenty more, because their goal is to make sure you stay as strong as possible throughout the aging process. They optimize the different issues that could be affecting you. Again, been a client for a little over a month now. That's in Madison and Brandon, themanthing.com, 601-607-7869. Fun with numbers. Ole Miss has the longest basketball non-conference winning streak in the country.
Oh, wow. I would never have guessed that.
You'd have missed that on your bingo card this morning.
I would have.
Yeah, 17 wins in a row for the Rebels in the non-league. They went undefeated in the non-league last year. And now they are off.
Oh, that's right.
They did. Now they're off to this 4-0 start. They face Oral Roberts on November 21st. That is tomorrow.
That's correct.
Evening at 7 o'clock.
That is true.
At the Pavilion. And then 3 in a row, a little tougher game. So we'll see if they can get through that stretch, which would mean something if they got to 21 in a row. They face BYU in the first round of the tournament over Thanksgiving out in San Diego. And then in the second round, they will face either Purdue or NC State.
That is correct.
Purdue coming off a win over Alabama earlier this week.
Yes.
By the way. So
Purdue has a pretty good basketball program.
Todd's still pretty good.
Todd's very good.
Yeah, Matt Painter, one of the better coaches in the country who's never won it. He's quite good. And then at Louisville for the ACC SEC thing after that. They were god-awful under Kenny Payne. I don't know what's going on now.
Still have Memphis on the schedule, too. They're at Memphis, I think.
Saturday, December 28th at 1 o'clock. Memphis Tigers. That's correct.
Oh, see, wouldn't you love to know, hey, Neal, will you be in town on Saturday, December 28th? Because if I am, it means that Ole Miss's season is over.
Yes.
Because if it's not over, no, I will not be in town. I will be at a bowl site.
You'll be in Pasadena or New Orleans.
Or the four? Peach, Atlanta,
or Fiesta. Phoenix. Because, yes, the semis, again, are Miami and Dallas.
That is correct.
And then the championship's in Atlanta.
That is correct.
So a team from the SEC could be in Atlanta 3 times over 6 weeks.
Could.
SEC Peach final.
Yes.
Lindenwood, Southern Miss, Southern University, and Queens are the rest of Ole Miss's non-conference schedule outside of the games that I previously mentioned. And they open the league at home against the Georgia Bulldogs.
Yes.
On Saturday, January 4th.
First week is Georgia at home and then at Arkansas.
That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
LSU, Alabama State, A&M. It's real fast. I mean,
the league's good. There's no escaping it.
There's not a lot. Oh, yeah, that's fine. Oh, you're good. No. I haven't really looked to see who's done what or who's been bad or anything at this point, though.
Someone asked about how far is it to Bloomington from Oxford. I've looked it up a couple of times.
7-ish?
It's about 7 hours.
Okay. This was a shoe-in, and we don't know if he's going to get in this year, but this part was a shoe-in. Eli, one of the 25 semifinalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame, coming here. This Eric Allen, Jared Allen, Willie Anderson, Anquan Bolden, Jari Evans, Antonio Gates, James Harrison, Rodney Harrison, Torrey Holt, Luke Keckley, Eli Manning, Robert Mathis, Steve Smith, Terrell Suggs, Fred Taylor, Earl Thomas, Adam Vinatieri, Hines Ward, Ricky Waters, Reggie Wayne, Richmond Webb, Vince Wilfork, Steve Wasinski, Darren Woodson, and Marshall Yonda. Those are your 25 semifinalists for the Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Ginger, I appreciate you posting that in the thread. She said, I just got back from my Scandinavian trip planned by John Edwards. Had a fantastic time. Would absolutely let him plan another trip for me. Thank you. That's very nice. John's a great guy. I mean, an absolutely superb person.
Been with us for a really long time now. Saw in your mailbag this morning. I do think it's worth a quick 2 or 3 minute conversation, just because nobody knows exactly. You were right in there. Is there's no clear answer. Is how our team's going to do this portal period without knowing where it's coming, how it's coming from, or even to what budget number to work toward, because you've got an 8-month lag, 7 to 8 month lag of not knowing anything. Walker Jones and Glenn Boyce both have told me in podcast over the last week that they are preparing for July 1st to be when the new revenue sharing takes place, where athletic departments can essentially fund for the most part,
because this the start of the fiscal year.
Yeah, it's just when it all kind of clicks in there. Now, look, there's still going to be collectives and NIL on top of that with some different things. Now, yes. I do think you're going to need, look at smoke and mirrors, but some version of quid pro quo in those contracts from an NIL standpoint at that point, at least in theory, as I'm saying over and over again today. But the 20 to 21 million for rev sharing to pay athletes would start from athletic departments on July 1st. And that's the beef of the situation from a contract standpoint when you're paying the players for next season and when you're working off the portal. The question is, how are you structuring these contracts? How much are you paying them between when they sign in December or January until August and that kicks in? What does that look like? How do you go about it? And then are you still doing the exact same push on donor and corporate funds to get you to that point in August as far as how these contracts goes? Is what Walker was really wanting. And I mean, I don't think he believed it would happen, but he was really wanting Sankey or somebody to come out and go, hey, this is going to pass, so y'all can go ahead and plan your budgets in that way to supersede that. That is very unlikely. Boyce said that he thought from a strictly definition sense, it would run as the old system until July 1st.
Yeah.
But that's going to require cash in hand from your current models to get you to July 1st to do that.
I think you almost have to plan on another season like this.
And if you get it, then...
And then, I mean, I don't want to get into this whole conversation again because I might go find a tall building. But I'm still not as convinced as others that this holds. The whole rev share thing. I don't
There's
know.
still legal issues.
I got a lot of questions.
And again, I mean, I'm stopping too. It's one sentence and I'm stopping.
Okay.
The entire House settlement is structured on the fact that there are not future legislation or suits. That is an impossibility to a point that is not even worth discussing.
Like within 10 minutes.
I mean, Glenn Boyce is on the NCAA Board of Governors, and I said, this doesn't stop it whatsoever. And he goes, not even for 1 second. And I said, thank you. So thus.
See, I said 10 seconds, and he cut it to 1.
That was maybe not verbatim, but that was essentially what he said.
So I don't know. I'm cheering for you guys in that are trying to regulate it, but
Tommy Tuberville's trying to punish the players when they break contracts and regulate it in his own way.
Yeah, we talked about that on McCready and Siskey. Tommy.
I saw him. I saw his pictures back on the plains. He was hanging out with the 04 team. They got honored for the 20-year anniversary.
Okay.
He was wearing a cap that said "Fear the Thumb," I believe, from the days of beating Bama the 5 times in a row or whatever it was.
He did.
That was a heyday for Tommy.
It was.
He was probably was there pressure on him, the fact that he had not won a national championship at that point, even though he kept beating Alabama every year? What was sort of the...
No, because people felt like they got screwed in 04.
They thought they could have given
and they certainly
SC a game.
They should have played in the game.
Yeah. So that was almost counting as a title for him in a way.
Well, they counted it as a title.
Well, they did. Was it Golf Digest that gave it to him? Who was it?
Somebody. And I didn't blame them at the time. There was a lot of criticism of them at the time, and I was like, I kind of get it.
SEC team, it shows you the world difference, though, in 20 years. Not a chance in Sam Hill today. I mean, not even a thought beyond thought.
But I mean, that team was the beginning of some of these conversations. Like, how are they not in? I was an AP voter that year. I voted them number 1 midway through the season and kept them there, and literally had people on the Auburn. It always made me so uncomfortable. I wasn't covering the team anymore. It was my first year as a columnist.
Mm-hmm.
And there were people on the staff who knew me who would go, hey, thank you. And I'm like, stop. I'm voting you there because I think that's where you belong, not because of this. And then I'd get criticized because I was an Auburn homer.
Was it Outside the Lines that wanted to talk to you?
Yeah, I did Outside the Lines. Mm-hmm.
What was the guy's name?
Is it Bob Lee?
I think it was Bob Lee.
Brought a big satellite truck to our house. I'm sure everybody thought I'd
murdered someone. Got all the stuff.
Oh, there's like big satellite truck out in the driveway.
All because of a pole.
They moved a bunch of furniture around in our house.
Did they?
Yeah. And the kids were little. I mean, the girls were 3 and 1.
How much heads up did you have? How many days
to do that?
Yeah,
it all happened in one day.
Did it really? You got a call and said we'll be there today.
They called me that morning, and I said no. I didn't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, why? And I said, because I don't want to be on television. I'm ugly. I do not want to be on television. That's what I told the girl. And she kept going, you have to do it. I'm like, no, I do not have to do it. And I didn't do it. And then the paper found out that I had said that I wouldn't do it.
And they wanted the pub.
And they demanded that I do it. So at that point, I did have to do it.
Yeah, did they move the furniture back before they left?
They did.
Okay.
They were nice.
They do this every day. They go somewhere in the country and
they
barge into someone's home.
They were nice. They brought all these lights and stuff in. And
did they?
Yeah, it was
well done. Maybe that's not the word, but
I wasn't happy. They asked me if I wanted to tape, and I said no. It's me and Keith Moreland.
Who's that?
Former Chicago Cub, Philadelphia Philly. He was one of the radio voices of Texas.
Oh.
Yeah, he was pissed off.
Was he?
Yeah.
He's frustrated?
Yeah, because before we got started, I was like, hey, I was a big fan of you when you played.
Oh, you did that?
Oh, yeah. I was like, when you played for the Cubs, it was one of my favorite teams when I was a kid.
He didn't care?
He was pissed off. He wanted to hate me.
Really?
Yeah. He played on that 84 Cubs team, though. That was like probably my favorite team ever as a kid.
How'd that season end?
Lost in the NLCS to the Padres.
Oh, that's right.
Needed one win to win the World Series and lost 3 in a row.
Oh.
It was a 5-game series. They won games 1 and 2.
Mm-hmm.
And then lost 3 in a row in San Diego. Steve Garvey hit a home run. Leon Durham missed a ground ball.
This thing could get into you guys' pocketbook a little bit if Ole Miss did run through a little bit. Randall pointing it out in the stream there. You'd be in Bloomington, and then you'd have to face Texas in the Sugar, and then you'd have to go play Georgia in the Cotton.
Yeah, listen.
And I actually think you would play Georgia in the Orange because you're going to have to the West Coast school probably play in Texas.
Yeah, I haven't. Probably right.
I mean, Oregon would get to choose their bowl. They're the 1 seed.
Yeah.
I would think they'd pick Cotton over Orange, wouldn't they? It's closer. Only half the country instead of the whole country. Yeah. Or at that point, does it even damn matter because you're on a plane?
I think Oregon would want to play indoors.
Oh.
Because the Miami game would be outdoors, so you could possibly have although it doesn't really rain in South Florida in January.
Well, they're Ducks. It's fine.
It's true.
Was Moreland a catcher who could also play outfield? Sammy is asking.
Yeah, but mostly on that team he played left field.
What is as a kid that was your favorite team you've ever you had?
Oh yeah,
that was the '84 team.
Yeah, Jody Davis, Leon Durham, Ryan Sandberg, Larry Boa, Ron Say. Bobby Dernier was in center field. I think Keith Moreland played right field. He did. He played right field. Gary Matthews played left. Rick Sutcliffe was the ace. Lee Smith was the closer. Yeah, I love that team. Steve Trout.
Because I don't know if 91 or 92 is my favorite Braves team growing up. Because like I get they won it in 95, but that wasn't like my favorite day-to-day team as a kid. And you had all the, sunshine and rainbows, and you just liked your guys. And
yeah,
I think it's 91 because I stayed mad at Lonnie Smith for not sliding against the Twins in Game 7 for years. Took me a long time to get over that. Got to stay up late and watch Game 7, and Jack Morris, that asshole. And
he was really good that day.
There we are. Okay. Podcast brought to you by Johnston Hill Creamery, johnstonhillcreamery.com. We've got some more coming on them on our social media channels here the next couple of days. Also, you can pick up right there at Chicory Market. That's where they're located now. Tailgate packages, they pay 10, 20, or 40. Still got the Egg Bowl. So against Mississippi State there, let them handle your Grove activity or wherever you're tailgating. You're all getting together as family. Look, they do catering and do a lot of different things. Or just stop in and see if they have something to help you out for dinner or any meal that you choose. Plenty of options, including artisanal cheese trays, charcuterie, sandwiches, crudité, desserts, a lot of stuff there. You can order directly online. You don't have to talk to anybody. You do that again, johnstonhillcreamery.com.
Get the beautiful, healthy smile you deserve at Corinth Dental. Dr. Bubba McQueen, Dr. Jenny Beth Hendrick are devoted to restoring and enhancing the natural beauty of your smile using conservative, state-of-the-art procedures that will result in a beautiful, long-lasting smile. From routine checkups to advanced treatment, including implants and Invisalign, Corinth Dental is here to help you achieve your smile goals. Schedule your appointment today. Take the first step toward a better version of yourself at corinthdental.com. Are you a displaced corporate executive wanting to put your career in your own hands? Are you an experienced entrepreneur looking to diversify? Andy Ludicky can help. He owns multiple franchises and businesses. He uses his expertise to help others find their American dream through a very thorough and free consultation process. So call Andy. Put your life and your career in your own hands. It's 100% free. You've got nothing to lose. Find your perfect franchise at myperfectfranchise.net or contact Andy at myperfectfranchise.net or 404-973-9901. Located in the heart of Cajun country in Broussard, Louisiana, Parish Brewing Company's simple goal is to make awesome craft brewed beer, and they do it really well. The doctor is introducing your new go-to IPA, Dr. Juice. It's a highly crushable juice bomb, dry hopped with a blend of their favorite hand-selected hops from the Yakima Valley. Dr. Juice's drinkability is sneaky good considering it clocks in at 6% ABV. The pour allows a rich cantaloupe hue with a thick frosted haze, soft mouthfeel, aroma, and taste is full of passion fruit, papaya, and blood orange, making it drink like a glass of freshly squeezed juice. You got to try it. If you like IPAs, you'll love Dr. Juice. And whatever Parish products are out there, you should try them. If you love beer, you'll love Parish. Also, elevate your game day look with socks that financially support the Rebels. Every step you take shapes the future of Ole Miss athletics. Visit deadsoxy.com. Choose a subscription to receive the latest in Ole Miss styles every month or at an interval that best suits you. With the subscription, you'll receive 25% off member pricing, free shipping, and a free pair of Juice Kiffin socks with your first order. Only 100 of these exclusive socks remain. Take the next step, upgrade your socks, and as always, stay soxy.
The Declaration of Independence Center for the Study of American Freedom is located on the Ole Miss campus and aims to explore and examine the fundamental and founding principles of the United States of America. The center offers an academic minor in freedom studies and scholarship opportunities for Ole Miss students that bring along lots of networking potential. To learn more, contact Stephen Skoltetti at freedom@olemiss.edu or visit independence.olemiss.edu. I'm assuming that's 100 pairs of socks, not just 100 socks. That would be 50 pair.
I'm assuming it's
you're going to get both socks for all 100 there.
That would be my guess.
Okay. One thing I did notice that we did not discuss real quick on these rankings, and I think it's a sign, as you were saying, of trying to get these one-bid leagues in with the ACC and the Big 12, is that Miami fell below Alabama after having a bye week, and Alabama only beating Mercer. And Miami went from above Alabama to below Alabama. So we could be starting this little fall here. And I think the justification was that Alabama lost. Miami has moved down because Louisville lost. So that's where we are in the situation and kind of sums it all up there. Louisville took a bad loss, dropped in analytics, thus Miami's win is not as good, and thus Miami fell below Alabama.
Oh, Texas gets credit as a quality win for beating Colorado State. Did you know that? That's correct.
In the SEC, top 20 wins. Alabama 4, Georgia 4, A&M 2, Ole Miss 2, South Carolina 2, Tennessee 1, Texas 0. That is where that is sitting on with the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 SEC teams. Just saying.
I mean, there's I keep coming back to I sort of blame the SEC for this.
Because they allowed it.
They signed off on it.
Allowing it would have been completely taking your ball and going home. You didn't have the ability to necessarily change the overall structure of including anyone. I guess put it that way. You'd had to basically say, hey, Big Ten, we're just going to play each other. Nobody else is even in this thing. We're going to go.
Would have made the same money.
You're going to pick your top 5 or 6. Would
have made the same money.
There's still, even in leadership in these two conferences, people who believe it's better if everyone is involved to some extent, and it's about the greater ecosystem. I know you don't understand how that happens, but I do think that is.
I understand it. I disagree with it.
I mean, there are executives that I have talked to in the last whatever that still thinks it's the Power Four's job to prop up smaller schools.
Yeah, I disagree completely.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm not a big inclusivity person, as you well know.
Mm-hmm.
I think DEI and all of that stuff is absolutely. I'm a meritocracy person.
This is a 90-second thing and not even political. I tell you what I don't like about what has happened with the DEI thing is we got away from what the actual initial definition was simply, hey, how do we make sure somebody who's like handicapped understands how to interact, like how we interact, but we politicized it and blew it up into something completely different.
Right.
That's actually what bugs me about that is like we take something that at its heart makes sense, but we've changed the synonym by bastardizing the initial thought. That bothers me. We do it a lot with different things, and that bugs me. All right.
If Ole Miss wins the title, whose statue gets built? It's Kiffin, right? Yeah, for sure.
It's like this huge, like, yeah.
If they make the statue smile, I'm going to get mad at it because he's not a big smiler.
No, what is the pose that is a Kiffin statue? Is Juice in it too? Is the dog next to the coach on the statue? Juice was in Garden and Gun.
I saw that. Did they interview Juice?
No, I don't believe so. To the best of my knowledge.
Okay.
Rough.
He declined the interview request.
Rough. You could do the fist pump. He hasn't really thrown a clipboard in a while. That's how. That was your 1 and 2. He's a calmer, gentler Kiffin now.
It was a play sheet.
Yeah, it was. There was no clipboard.
There's no clipboard. That would be
Does that bother you?
It does.
Does it?
Because it's not a clipboard. It's a play sheet. A laminated play sheet.
That's as similar as when I get bugged when they say podium and they mean lectern.
Mm-hmm.
You stand on podiums. You talk in front of lecterns.
That's correct.
Yes.
I heard someone the other day say, well, they had to lock down the podium. I'm like, no, they didn't. But I didn't say it out loud. I just said to myself, no, that's not how that worked.
Yeah, it would be Kiffin. It would be very large. It would be very prominent in some area. I did the podcast with the sculptor of the Elko statue months ago, whenever that was, and it's a very long process. Like Lane would be so uncomfortable the length of time to pose for the sculpture because you need like some measurements, even though you're taking it from a picture. Like you need photos from all sides and all this stuff. Like he would be actively trembling, I think, with someone measuring every little thing and getting it from like
yeah.
I need to watch that. That's actually what I'd like to see is the inside process of what that would. Whew. Line is stabilized at 10.5. By the way, we had moved a lot, but it's stuck at 10.5 now.
Yeah, I'm about to do my picks.
A lot of the money on Ole Miss.
I'm putting my money on Ole Miss. I'm not real money. Although I'm thinking about it. I actually think Ole Miss is going to score.
This is one of those you think?
I do.
I just think, even from a mentality standpoint, this is not the one Florida thinks they're getting, and you're coming off that big win. It's 11 a.m.
Yeah, I don't want to minimize Florida's win over LSU, but LSU would have lost to a lot of people Saturday.
Again, plays 93-45.
LSU would have lost to a lot of people Saturday.
There was one path, and it worked. They got the win.
Yeah.
But,
No, I don't want to minimize the win. I hate when people do that. I hate when people.
But analytically, it wasn't like Florida walked in there and boat raced a team from September that LSU was.
No, like, I actually like Ole Miss really big in the next 2 games.
You think he gears down against State?
No,
you don't.
I think he's going to make sure covers all of his bases
just in case.
That's what I would advise.
Because last year he geared down.
Yeah, but last year they were so hurt.
They were banged up, and he went, let's just not do anything stupid. Let's just get out of here.
And they weren't really playing for, like, the whole thing was kind of out of their control. Like they were either going to get the access thing, or they were going to go to Orlando. And while they really wanted the access thing, I think they were at peace with going to Orlando.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't playing for a national championship. That was absolutely out.
Yeah.
Their mind had already shifted to the portal.
Mm-hmm.
No, I think that was Jackson was really hobbled. I think that was let's just get done. And it was in Starkville, and it was Greg Knox and
four-wheeler.
Nobody really cared. It was just let's just make sure we win.
Yeah.
No, I think this would be a totally different thing. I think it would not, and not the Levy thing. I think this would be.
It's our last look from the committee.
Let's
It's at home.
I think it'd be let's make sure we cover the bases.
It's a lot of last home game for a lot of dudes that have meant a lot to this program, for better or worse, or whatever you want to make of that theme here. So, yeah, we'll get to that later. Florida coming up 11 o'clock Central Time, 12 Eastern. There Saturday from Gainesville. Yeah, Dwayne Wade's statue is worse than the Ronaldo one.
They're redoing it.
Are they?
Yes. There was so much backlash.
It was
redoing
bad.
it is bad.
Cavs lost, by the way, last night. They were 15-0, I think, prior to last night. They got beat 120-117 in Boston last night.
I'm on I guess this will be day 11 of no NBA.
Still?
Not watched a single dribble. Hadn't read anything. Hadn't listened to anything.
It's a bit at this point.
No, I'm trying. You get over an addiction one day at a time.
Okay.
You can't go 30 days without watching it until you go 12.
Thunder 11-4, falling to the Spurs last night.
Not surprised.
Wembanyama did not play.
Chet Holmgren didn't play either. Correct?
He did not. No.
Yeah.
Okay. That's accurate. So yes. Mavs won 132-91 over the Pelicans.
Oh. No, Mark, I don't think he runs it up due to his relationship with Levy. I don't think. No. I'll be honest with you, and we'll talk about this more next week. I don't think the relationship with Levy is as bad as people make it out to be. I think if Lane is honest with himself, and he probably is, given the way that he is right now, he knows that
there was some truth.
There was more than a grain of truth to some of the things that were said in the first year or so.
Things being true and things needing to have been said probably is a different argument from that time period, but yes. Well, and two, this isn't like Jimbo. Like Lane messing with people that he might be a little annoyed with but kind of likes is kind of where he was with Levy. Like, he did the thing when they were in Destin or wherever with the drink and the weight loss and all that kind of stuff. But that wasn't like he hacks toward Jimbo or A&M or, I guess, frankly, I mean, it feels like he's moved on to some other folks now. But like Hugh. Hugh has taken the Jimbo mantle.
He hates Hugh a lot more than he hates Jeff Levy.
Yes.
It's not even close.
He would run it up on Hugh.
Oh, God. If he could.
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
He would keep throwing.
He might go to 70.
Yeah, he would keep throwing. Jackson would be in the game.
All you have to really know about style points is that Lane really likes Sam Pittman. And they kept going.
Mm-hmm.
He needed that number to be a big number.
Yeah.
I think Lane really likes Sam Pittman.
Yeah.
Like, I think when they all get together at coaches stuff, I think he's one of the ones that he likes to talk to.
Mm-hmm. But yet, the process is the process, and that's where Ole Miss is right now. So, all right, we'll talk to Jeffrey in the morning. Again, as Neal said, some what's a hand raise guys tomorrow night, and a ton of content at MPW Digital and RebelGrove.com leading into Ole Miss in Florida Saturday, noon Eastern, 11 Central from the Swamp there in Gainesville. So take care. Have a good day. Stuff on the site, and we'll talk to you again in the morning.